Hello guys, if you guys can hear my voice, let me know in the chat box. I will be very happy and thank you for joining this session. And this session is going to be very awesome for you because if you don't have any kind of a background in building any project using Django, I guess you are in a very good luck. And today, let me set up my streaming somehow so you guys won't be get bored during this session. So let me do one thing and we will start the session. So yeah, I hope you guys can actually hear my voice. I am seeing lots of the comments in the chat box, and please don't forget to ask anything uh, if you are have any kind of a doubts or something. You should definitely ask in the chat box. I am very happy to answer your all your queries. So let's begin some session with some kind of a background music. I guess that would be very okay for you, and let me edit that to the stream. So let's add some music to the stream so that won't be boring as much. So we are today here for learn Django, and if you know, Django is getting popular day by day, so I guess you are here to learn Django. That's why. So I guess we need to dive into the Django and let's see what Django is. So first of all, we know this session is powered by TechEra community, and I am very thankful for TechEra to letting me organize this session, and I hope you guys enjoy this session. And I'm very proud that this session is going to be very awesome because you will have a very basic insight about the Django and you will be able to start your Django project. So I think most of the people are now joined us, and keep the chat overflow with your questions and drop all your questions in that. In the middle and the last, we will pick up some questions and queries and we will definitely discuss in depth. So let me introduce myself, and if you know, I am from TechEra, and if you know me, I'm Sudhanshu. So that's a brief introduction. I don't want to get you bored by my introduction, but first of all, what I'm gonna do is I will tell you about my problem, the things I faced during the building Django project, and how you can learn by yourself rather than focusing on the tutorials online. So the session won't be more of like a tutorial, but it will be very great for you. So I will tell you how to read documentation and what the problems I faced and how I encountered them. So super awesome. Let's dive in what things I know and what I can actually tell you and what queries I can handle. What kind of a queries I can handle you. Sorry for the mistake. I haven't sleep for a while because I was super excited. So what I know. Let's see. So what things I know? I know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, SQL, Python, Django, and how to build APIs, Magic servers, AWS, VS Code, and the last PostgreSQL. I'm also in the field of machine learning. I have done past some projects, done internship with TCS company. So don't say anything about TCS right now here. I don't want to create any kind of impression about the bad impression about the company. Actually, it's it's a good company. So if you have any query or just want to say hi, connect on LinkedIn or the WhatsApp, or you can on ping on Discord server. You have my email address and GitHub account details. I will post that detail inside the chat box if possible, and let's talk some Django. If you guys know, there is a movie named called Django, and you must check out what Django movie is, because I haven't watched the Django movie right now, and I have just searching for the picture for the Django to include in my slides. So I come up this picture, and it's like more of a like a very great picture that actually being indicating, wow, what I see in the Django. It's like surprised what Django is. So yeah, Django is surprising and super easy to actually work with rather than comparing to the frameworks. So why people are actually loving Django? Because it's super fast. If you have an encounter with the Django side, you must know that Django is super fast in running. And secure too, because Django comes with a pre-built many kind of a security features like session authentication, and these are things are already inbuilt into the Django. And the last that we all want to know, that Django is scalable or not. Yes, Django is totally scalable. You can actually make a very big apps, or you can say a very big website using Django framework. And is it easy? Yeah, it's easy to work with Django. So I am getting some question like, please, what's the agenda for the session from Sun Muganthan? I'm sorry, I'm not able to actually speak your name. But today's agenda is to how what actually Django, and we will definitely dive into the coding part. We will not actually or talk and talk, and we will definitely go into the coding part, and we will definitely dive into the hands-on session. So I find a Django based company for the placement. What type of questions face? Okay, we will definitely answer these questions also. And what concept of Django should be known to build any project? Yeah, that's the great question. Samiksha Kaur. Yeah, that's a good question, and I think that's the question that we are going to answer in this session. So let's begin the session rather than getting bored by all these. And let's see. So I have included the link of the source code that I will be updating the today code onto that, so you guys can actually have hands-on onto the code and see what actually is going on the back end of that code. I'm pretty much excited, you can see from my voice. And you can just go to the github.com TechEra community intro to Django, and you will find the code that today I'm gonna doing on the hands-on session. So I think that's awesome. So let's dive into the more into Django. There is a confusion about Django. What Django is? So Django is a more of a like a MVT. model view template. It's not a MVC, and it's totally different from MVC. So if you guys have ever previously worked with any kind of a framework like a PHP, Laravel, or a Code Igniter, or some kind of a stuff, you have been encountered some kind of framework like a MVC, more model view controller. But Django is more of a similar, but it's not MVC. So the first question that I am going to answer is how much knowledge you actually need to begin a Django project. So how much knowledge? So it's not a very big question, but I guess you should have some kind of knowledge in the OOPS area of Python, like how to declare a class, how things are actually working in a class, how functions are, keywords are, how to pass parameters or any kind of stuff. So that's most of the stuff that you actually need to know about. Like we will be gonna encounter some of the classes, variable, functions, and again, I guess you know what I mean. So you should know about classes and how classes works, and some kind of all the basic, like for loop, if and else loop, conditions, statements, string, integer, and whatever. If most of the stuff is basic knowledge of a Python language, will definitely do something. You will be able to do something in a Django. So I guess you guys have some knowledge in the Python. uh, okay, so you guys are actually new to Django. Okay, that's not a problem, because the session is today is all about that. Let's dive into the more to the Django. What you can do with this Django framework: you can create a very awesome website, and you can apply a front end like React.js, which is today now it's very popular, and your Django will be work as a backend. So how Django will be work as a backend? By creating some APIs. So that's advanced stuff. First, we need to get some basics of how Django is. So you can design an awesome front-end view in Django. You can render out your content inside the Django. Django has a very powerful templating engine to actually work around it. And in the last, why Django is on the why Django is actually popular around the youngster and the people and in the industry, because Django is fast and development and works very well in case of speed, and it is very smooth. We will see some examples of that, but I want to tell you one example, that is how fast Django is. So Django runs very faster. If you know, Instagram was first built on Django. So the best thing that I know right now, that I want to tell you, that the first was Instagram built on Django, due to that much of scalability as now Instagram has. They have to shift to another tech. That's why, because if you see, Instagram is a lot more bigger, but I don't think your project will be that much bigger. But but to actually start from Django is the best practice, I guess. So the fun part, there are a lot of libraries, CMS and Manifold is stuff like Django REST APIs and Django REST frameworks, and there are a lot of libraries that you can actually use with Django, and you can create a very awesome website. So sit tight, let's start the learning about the Django. And we will first understand how Django works. So there is an example. So what we can see is, okay, what makes Django faster? Because it's a Python language, I guess. And if you want to know more about why Django is faster, you can deep dive into the stuff like what's the technology that's driving the Django and its work very faster. And I can just give you that reference to that, but I don't want this session to go into that part. So I don't want to go into that part and start explaining this stuff. So we have a user, and like, for example, you are you go to the any Django website, and what you did is you type some URL, like I typed my home URL, like I typed example.com, and there is a URL file inside your Django project which actually parsing that things. That means you given that URL, and Django intercept that URL and pass it to the url.py to see which what is related to that URL. So whatever the stuff of a routing, like a different many URLs, all these stuff related to the URL are actually related to the url.py file in the Django. So whatever is related to your routing, like you type anything like example.com slash contact us or about us, or these are the things are actually being identified and decided which view is related to which URLs, and what output should be given to that depending on that URL. So when you type example.com, Django intercept that request and pass it on to the url.py, and url.py identify which view is related to that URL, and that view go to the template which is related to that view, and if include some kind of a data that is from the database. So there is a model.py which allow us to actually fetch a data from the database. So we don't actually directly communicate with the database. We actually work with the model.py file and the stuff around the model.py file. So that's how. And we will dive into more about that, how Django is work, because you need to actually have a more basic knowledge about how Django works. So you will be able to create some basic Django project from scratch. That's why I want to tell you that how stuff actually work with Django. So this is the very raw diagram about how Django works, and totally describe all of the things that I am seeing right now. And I got it from the MDN docs, and you can also go to the MDN docs. It's a very great documentation out there, and you can actually learn more of the stuff from there by yourself. So if you guys are actually enjoying it, let me know in the chat box. I will be pumped throughout the session. I will make the session great for you, so you guys won't be get bored around my session. So we have a model.py, url.py, and views.py, and the template. That's the all thing that I explained in the previous. And this image is, and this diagram is sufficient to understand how Django works. But let's dive into the deeper part into the Django, and we will cover small details, and we will after that we will dive into the Django practical session, and we will figure out all these things from the code. So like the HTTP request is more of like a user, you request some HTTP request to the url.py file, url.py file forward your request to the view, and view decide what to do, like get some data from the models, or render that data to the template. Like there is your template, like you have a report card for your academic, and and you have a data inside your database. So your database and your report card should interact, and your output should be like filled with your data, like your report card. If you are in some college or something, you must have a kind of academic results, or like a semester results. So you download some kind of a PDF of your result, and you see your result on your website. That means what server is doing is, or you can say in case of Django, so what view is doing is, it's going to the backend of server and asking to the model.py file to read the data from the database and fetch that data that is asked by the user, and fill the data in the template file. So the output should be your data and the template. So what you get the result in the end is your result, whatever the result that you asked for from the site. So that's the base, that's the most simple explanation of Django that I can actually, so whatever. So let's move on to the other part, that is how url.py file actually look. So we have some kind of example down here. saying that we have some kind of a pattern that decide which pattern is related to that, and from the language you can actually understand what is actually going on. There is written as something kind of a re underscore path. That means we have a regular expression path. That means we can have a regular expression patterns here. By the mean of pattern, you can definitely understand we can have some kind of a regular expressions here. And it's very easy to work with a regular expression if you want something kind of dynamic URLs. So, and that's the stuff about url.py. Let's move on to the other part, that is model.py file. And there is an example of model.py file. So what model.py file actually doing is for you is you are defining your model or the structure, how you want your database to be have a structure, like what fields you want in a table in your database. But in case of Django, you don't have to write a code in SQL or any kind of a database query language, but you will work with the API that is provided by Django, that is the database communication or the model.py file. You can find out on that documentation of a Django. But we will cover that part too, what Django API is, what how to communicate with data, and what API does Django provide to actually communicate with data, or you can say database. So model.py file actually describe how you want to structure your database or the data, how you want to put your data, how in which way you want to actually put your data. I'm think I'm boring, so let's move on to the other part, that is views. So that's the most interesting part, because here is all logic. Like you went on a website and you type something there, like you type some kind of a form there. For example, let's take as a very simple example, that is a blog. So it's a very cliche example, it's cliche, but don't make any kind of argument on that. But blog is a very simple example. So you go on to some blogging website and you write your post. So what happens is when you click on a submit, and there is a function called any kind of a function, and the function will be related to that URL or that button or that submit. So that will initiate some process behind in the backend of the server, and whatever the logic you put inside that function, where that will be happen. And we will see how view actually work, and that's the best. And you need to actually write good code inside the view, because the view decide a lot of the stuff, how your code is. And view is the really heart of your web application, and in case of a Django too. So that's also tell the template what data you want to transfer to the template. I don't want to get into that part. We will explain it, so the code that will be very easy to explain. So that's how the template, I said you earlier that the template is all about what you are, how, what structure or what kind of a display output you want to see on your screen. Whatever the site you go on to, it's a rendered form from the data and the template. So I think my point is clear. So what is the duration of this session? I guess 1.5 hours. I will be able to continue to 1.5 hour, half hour. That will be sufficient. And if you guys are not bored, we can actually extend the session. So template actually allows to specify the structure of an output document, and using some placeholder for the data that will be filled in a web page, like the form, how you want to render your forms, like input form, that kind of stuff. So let's move on to the other part. And the simply is Django doesn't take any kind of a amount to set up and what do this and do this. There's a very minimal setup to actually start a Django project. And what we can actually do with Django, we can actually create APIs, we can process data using Django in the backend, and lot of stuff like model deployment for your machine learning models, lot of stuff like pipeline and something and all, multiple task queues, schedulings, and lot of stuff like emailing client and something all. That's all the stuff. So let's head to the core of this session, that is building. Let's start building and let's see how we're gonna proceed in this session. First, we will set up our environment for the project and we will set up a code editor because I know you guys know how to actually set up your code editor, but it's actually important to describe about how you can actually set up your code editor to actually able to work very really fast. So working hard and working smarter, there's a lot, there's a big difference. So, and we will create an empty project and we will see what empty project look like, and then we will discuss about the built-in component that comes with the Django and what the feature that actually comes with the Django that you don't have to actually code from scratch like in the other web frameworks. So we will work something around your empty project and we will create some kind of a basic homepage, I guess, and we will move on to the part that is template, how template actually work inside the Django, and how rendering context is in Django. And after that, I'm gonna give you some links and guidelines how you can actually proceed and inside the Django, so you can actually have a very advanced knowledge about the Django. So that's the stuff that actually I want to cover it today. So let's move on to the part that is set up your environment, and let's begin that part. So I guess you guys have all Python because that's why you are here, I guess. I don't have to actually. Okay. Good evening, Nancy Chen, and hello, Arnav. Thank you, K-Tech, and okay, Marlin, you are new to Django. Marilyn, I didn't pronounce your name correctly. Sorry, sorry for that. And Maksud, I said, okay, Maksud Ali. Hi, and yeah. Oh, hi, Aditi. Yeah. Hi, Sakshi. Yeah, I guess. So everyone is here right now. So I hope you guys you're on your system. So what you can do is just go onto the Python website and download the latest version of Python. So sorry, the slide was actually older, so I write it here 3.7, but actually I today installed a 3.8 version because 3.8 version have a very great update right now. So if you want to know what update actually Python 3.8 have right now, that in other language like C or in your C++ language or in Java, you can actually instantiate you can declare a variable without even storing something inside it. That means int a, and you declared your variable. But in case of a Python, you can't actually create a variable. So what you have to do is I want to create a variable name as a num. So what I will do is I will write num equal to 0, or if I want to instantiate as a integer, or if I want to instantiate as a string, so I will write it as a semicolon there. Oh, sorry. I think quits over there. Quits. Yes, I guess. So we will instantiate our variable. That's how we can actually declare any kind of a variable in Python. But if you want to do that now in Django like we did in C++ or any language, we can now do it. We have another separate kind of a variable, I can say expression, I guess. Yeah, we have expression. I will write it down in the chat box so you guys actually know what kind of expression is actually included in the Django that will allow you to actually store or create any variable during the execution of your code. So you don't have to actually instantiate before that to actually use that, and that's pretty awesome. So I have put down in the chat box so you guys actually can search it out and find out about that. So we have a set up our environment, And let's so I think we need to actually go into the practical part right now. So what I will do is I will just go on to my desktop. You guys can't actually see my screen right now. I will just share my screen when I'm able to actually when I will go to my project folders or whatever the demo folder I have created. So I will start the setting of my screen. So let me go to my the folder where I need to go actually. And I expect you guys that you guys can actually do it by yourself by following these instructions, like you download the Python version, and after that you need to install a virtual env. And if you are asking why we actually need a virtual environment, because if you are gonna work in a Django, you will have a definitely have a different version of a Django and different version of dependencies that will be used inside your Django project. So for example, right now we have a Django 3.1 release, and we will be creating a Django project with 3.1, but in future we might have some kind of a Django that will be a 3.2. And if we tried to run our project using the Django 3.2, that might actually cause some error. So that's why to actually separate these stuff, we need a separate virtual environment. So I think I am in my directory that I created just for that purpose. So need to do some kind of a yeah. So do I need to share my screen? Do I need to share my screen to you guys? Yeah, I think I need to share my screen. So one thing that background being is very nice. Okay, thank you, Maksud Ali. Sir, the good high-level project is necessary using Linux. So the first thing I will definitely recommend you guys that you should be working in a Linux, because there are some stuff that you can't actually do in Windows. Like there is some library called as a Celery, so that actually allow you to run a multiple task in your background, but you can't actually do it on your can't do it on your Windows, because that actually doesn't come for the Windows. So you need to actually go on to the terminal that is provided by the Windows right now for the Ubuntu, or some kind of a Docker environment or container, so that you can actually run that. So that's a lot of stuff that you need to do to run actually a simple thing. So I think you should make your deployment environment as a Linux. That will be very great for you in right now and in your future, because a lot of stuff and lots of tutorials and blogs out there are actually focused on Linux or Bash, I guess, or some kind of a Unix, I guess, Mac users. But I'm a fan of Windows and Linux. Obviously, Linux is my first priority. Don't judge me on that. That will be very okay. It's not a problem, Yogeshwari, I guess. Why am I spelling everyone's name wrong? So that won't be a problem. You are definitely okay with that, and just follow this instruction, or I will just show you right now how we are gonna proceed. So I need to start sharing my screen. So I need to add my screen here. That will be my whole window, I guess. Entire screen. Do I need to share my entire screen? I guess I need to share my folder here. Okay. So you guys can actually see that I have created a folder named as intro Django, and if you go inside it, there is nothing inside of that project. I hope you guys actually see my that directory, and that I have created a basic folder and basic directory. Don't judge me that I am using Windows right now, and I actually recommended you guys to actually use Linux here, because in my PC, and it's some kind of a gaming PC. I don't know what the issue with the PC is. I can't actually run my Linux in that PC. So what I do is I actually run a virtual machine inside my PC. I have to run a virtual machine. Seriously. So, uh, okay. So we have a folder, and inside the folder there is nothing inside it. So what I will do is I will just run a command prompt here, and we will begin with creating a virtual environment. So for that I think I need to actually share my whole screen rather than just sharing a simple screen or that screen only. So do I need to actually cancel that part? So let's share my whole screen rather than something and default and something. So I have added my screen here, and let's loop into that screen so you guys can actually see. So now you guys can actually see my whole screen. I guess you can actually see whatever the stuff I am doing right now. So let me go into my desktop. I hope you guys can actually see my screen. I'm guessing you guys can actually see my screen. I can't even read the comments right now. If I try to read the comments, you guys will be able to see my screen. Yeah, so that's how. Yeah, in Visual Studio, can I run a Django Flask projects? Visual Studio? You mean Visual Studio Code right now, I think. For Django, you don't need a CMD. For Django, to create any kind of a command, to run any kind of a command, you need some kind of a terminal or a CMD, right? So first you need to install by command pip install Django, then use it. Yeah, that's right. I don't know what name your name is. I don't able to actually read your name, but you said actually correct. So I have run my CMD here by just typing the CMD on the address bar. If you are from the Mac user or Linux, I guess you can actually create a terminal by clicking on it right there and create, and just select the option open a terminal here. That's very easy. I have an option here too. I have added that customization in my window. So let's install the libraries that we needed to actually work with. So first we will need to actually install a virtual env. So we will write pip install virtual env. I guess you guys can actually see my screen, and let's enter it. Let's see what will happen. I guess we have installed it earlier. I should have deleted. My mistake. But you know, in your system you won't be having this virtual env installed, I guess. So you will be having some kind of different output, but in my case I have already installed a virtual env. So let's create a virtual environment in that intro Django directory. So we will run a command virtual my typo error, virtual env, and the name of the environment that you actually want to create, like vnv, or you can just type dot here. So what will happen is all the files that included in the Django, in the virtual environment will be actually being put here inside that directory. That won't be in a separate folder. That I think you don't want that kind of a thing. If you have created some kind of a folder for the virtual environment specifically, just go into that folder and write this command. That will be okay for you. So in my case, I will create a virtual environment, name as a VNB, and I will just enter it here. I have entered it. It's taking time, I guess, sometime. Why is taking too much time? Okay, fine. So it created a folder named as VNV that stored all of the things that we'll be doing or installing, or whatever the thing that we actually do inside the virtual environment. And before that, I need to show you guys, what Python version that I am actually using right here. So let's run a command here, and I am using Python 3.8.5. That's brand new. So we have created a virtual environment, but we haven't activated it. So let's activate the virtual environment. To activate a virtual environment, you need to write a command VNV, the name of the folder or the name of your virtual environment, and in capital letter S, script. Scripts or script? Let's see. Should be scripts. Yeah, it's a script, and type it here activate.bat. So after entering this command, my virtual environment will be activated. So what you see here now, I have activated my virtual environment. And for those guys who are on the Mac or in the Linux, you have to run a command like source bin env, I guess, activate, that kind of something, kind of a structure or code is to activate a virtual environment in the Mac users or for the Linux users. But I have included that part to how actually you can actually create a virtual environment in your Windows, also in your Mac and Linux, inside that source link of that code of the project that I have just shown you guys. Let's see some comment if you guys have any kind of a problem. VS Code, and good evening, Jan Saab Piyush K Jain. Okay, that's a very big name, but nice meeting you. Okay, so after that, we have created our virtual environment and it's activated right now. Let's install here a Django. So we will do a pip install Django. That will install our Django, and that the version of the Django we are installing right now is 3.1, I guess. That should be 3.1. Due to the streaming, I think my system is actually slowing down. I guess there's a lot of stuff is going on in the background, but I can't actually see it. So now installing Django, and there are a lot of stuff is actually installed, including the Django. And till then, I will just see the chats in the chat box. If you have any doubt or you want to know something that you have some kind of a question, I guess you can actually ask. If you are not enjoying this session, let me know. I will do something about that too. It's taking too much time, I guess, to install even a single Django. Let's see, my server is actually running quite awesome. Yeah, my server is actually running and it's working fine. And I guess I have pretty much everything right. What's the issue right now? It shouldn't be taking that much of a time. Let's see the chat. Okay, continue. Okay, why is taking that much of time? That much. Why is a new virtual environment we have installed Django? I guess you need to actually install a Django in every environment you created, because depending on the version of Django you are comfortable with, because we have a Django 3.1 right now, but before we have a Django 2.2, and most of the people are actually comfortable with Django 2.2. So what they do actually is they create a virtual environment and install the required version, or the whatever the version of Django they are actually comfortable with. That's why, and that's the thing that you can actually do, and you need to actually install the Django in every virtual environment. It's not a big deal. It's not a very hard step or some kind of a step. Or you can even create a multiple project inside the same directory and use the same environment for these all projects until you have the same kind of a requirement for all these projects. So I guess, so you can see now my Django is installed, and let's have a both things side by side, and you can see that I have a Django installed, and now we need to actually create a basic Django, or you can say basic Django project. Before that, I need to tell you guys how you can actually uh, configure your editor. So for that I need to so you guys should be comfortable with using VS Code or Sublime, I guess. They are the two things that I will be asking you guys to actually do. So let's move on to the part that set up your code environment. So I have a two preference, that VS Code and Sublime, and we have done that part also. So let's head over to the CMD. We have installed Django and virtual environment, and after that we will set up our code editor. So in my case I have a VS Code. I have activated my VS Code using a single command like a code, but you need to, in your case, you need to actually come into that directory and use a shortcut like a open with code, or you can just go to your editor, and inside the editor there is an option called open folder. So you need to select that folder that you want to actually work in. So in my case I need to go to desktop. I have a Django session. I need to use that folder as a project. So I have included my folder that I want to work in, and right now there is nothing included here. Before that, there is something that actually I want to let you guys know, that you need to actually install some kind of very basic plugins like Bootstrap 4. I hope you guys have Bootstrap 4 installed, or IU is my theme that you are actually seeing. Please just include the auto close tag. That's very useful, and the bracket pair colorizer, that's very helpful when you actually code. And please include the Django. That will be actually help you throughout the code by some kind of a code snippets that you will be actually able to write down. Like you can see these examples here, and that will actually allow you to actually highlight your syntax according to the Django. And you need to I have installed a Django to actually get a snips. What are snips? And if you guys are comfortable with the VS Code, you know what snips are. So if in case I have write a blog, that will actually write this. These are the shortcut to write this whole part, so I don't have to actually do that. I have installed some Pylint to actually highlight my Python code, and I have installed a Python for debugging. Lots of stuff I have installed, but these stuff you can actually find out on that code source link that I have given to you. So let's head over to the CMD and create a Django project here. So Django dash admin, and write a command here, start project, and the name of the project. And after that you need to provide the directory in which you want to create your project. In my case I don't want to provide any kind of directory. Before that I want to do one thing, that is I need to create a separate directory. So I will run a command like mkdir src. So it will create a directory called as src, and we can see that we have a now directory as a src. Let's cd into the src, and I will create my Django project inside that directory. So I will run a command here, Django admin, and you need to write a start project. That the convention is provided by the Django to actually start a project. And when you write Django admin start project, you need to actually provide the name of the project you want. In my case, I will provide a name as what we try Django. I think try Django will be fine. And if you put a dot here, that means you should create the Django project inside the same directory. It shouldn't be in the different or a separate directory with the name of the project that we provided, like a try Django. You can see this, and it's very easy to see actually. Just you need to, if you enter it, what will happen is inside the src Django admin will do is it will create a project of a Django inside the src folder. If I don't provide a dot here, so it will create a separate try Django folder. Inside the try Django folder, it will include these two files, but I guess we don't want that. I think my system is lagging so much. And we have now some files here like try Django manage. So if you go to your code editor, inside the src you have a try Django here. So let's commit this first, so you guys let this commit this, so you guys will have some kind of a very, you will have a separate thing like when the project is created, when the project something is added. Small commits is better than having a single commit for the whole project. So empty Django project. Something error, we will figure out that later. So we have now try Django and we have our manage.py. So let's run the Django and see how Django welcome us. If we ls into the directory, we can see that we have manage.py and try Django. So you need to run the command that I will run right now inside the directory where your manage.py file is. I will run a command python manage.py run server. So Django comes with a small deployment server that is actually for the deployment purpose. So you don't have to actually install a separate server to run a Django on your system during deployment. So that's very awesome. And it also comes with a very basic database that is SQLite, and we will also see there are other options that we can actually use with Django. Let's run the command python manage.py. When I run the command python manage.py and run server, what will happen is it will run a server and it will just generate a basic file.db.sqlite. That's what I was talking about. So Django, the basic Django development environment and the basic default Django database is db.sqlite 3. You can have some kind of other database. I don't have a problem. You can use PostgreSQL and MongoDB. MongoDB is the NoSQL, I guess. MongoDB is a context free, I guess. Yeah. So you can even use MySQL here. You need to provide the MySQL localhost, username, password, all of the stuff of the configuration that you actually need. I will tell you how. Before that, I need to see some comments if you guys have any kind of error. So I guess we have some people here. So I need what? Let's change the audio here. So we have our project Try Django, and we are running our Try Django project here. So we have run our Django project here, but we need to see what output we are getting from the Django from by going to that URL. So we will copy that URL and we'll head over to our browser and we will run localhost 8000. Let's see, when we run a command, when we run the URL localhost 8000, and now we can actually see our we can now actually see our Django running. That's awesome, I guess. I need to actually configure that, I guess. There's a lot of noise I am getting right now. I don't want that. Yeah. So we are now seeing our Django here. And if you are confused right now, till right now, anything about the Django, let me know in the chat box so I will know that there's something is wrong that I have told you guys. Just say something in the chat box. I will know that you guys actually are listening to my things. We are actually, I'm not just saying stuff, random stuff here. Drop something in the chat box. That will be very awesome. Just do it. Did you guys did the same stuff that you did in your classroom in your colleges? Like you put on the live session and you are guys went to something roaming around somewhere else. I think I hope you guys haven't. I should haven't done some kind of that stuff. So I think my chat box I think was broken, so I was not able to see. So any website for making Django projects. For Django projects, if you're asking about Django deployment, let me know. Sana, if you want to know how to integrate a database as well, I have a specific blog post and I have created that by myself, and it's totally self-explanatory, and you can actually go onto that and I can provide you that link and you can ask me onto the group chat if you have any kind of a doubt, and that will be very okay. And for Django path for the backend deployment, okay, Django path for backend deployment. Yeah, Django is basically a good path for the backend deployment, and it's actually used in many projects. You can follow Django as a backend path, but you should be very well known about the concept of the Django inside so out, I guess. So any doubts so far? I guess no. So we have now our running Django here. If you are seeing my screen, but what you see here is that's not the actual screen. It's showing us a welcome screen. That's how Django works. It shows you the welcome screen when you create a very empty project, but you are seeing this screen because you have mode inside the setting that is debug equal to 2, that will allow you to actually see some errors and error messages that will come with Django if something goes wrong. So in my case, so we created a simple project, so we have nothing and Django knows it. That's why it's displaying the basic simple screen, welcome screen. If you have set debug equal to 2, if I put that to false, you won't be able to see that screen also. And let's head over to the main part. And let's head over to the, I was checking some messages from the group, I guess, and let's head over to the thing that we are actually discussing and what we are now able to actually we have done some stuff like setup environment, code in editor, creating an empty project, and we have now our welcome screen here. Now we will discuss some built-in component that comes with the Django and how they are actually useful. And that's the important part. If you are interested in Django, you should know Django is why Django is so powerful. And let's see. So before that, if you see here, there are some 18 unapplied migration. So your project might not work properly until you apply the migration. So my migration is like a file of your structure of a database, some kind of a stuff. So you created some kind of structure in your model.py file, and you need to actually process this structure to the database, so that the database will be structured according to that. But right now we don't need to actually worry about that, but to actually see the built-in component, because they are actually work with some kind of a database, so we need to actually apply this migration. And whenever you run your project, or I guess say whenever you made some changes inside the model.py file, or even you do some include some kind of installed any apps, like if you go to your Django project in the setting.py file, yeah, inside I am inside my project, and you can see there are some things like installed apps. So what I mean to say is, installed app is more of like a small component or a different separate app that you will be creating inside the Django. What I mean by app is, for example, you go onto a blogging site, and now you have a different categories, and according to the category you have a different blog, like a tech. You for the tech you have a technical blog, for food you have a food blog, for any kind of a travel you have a travel blog. According to that you have a different blogs. So what you can do is, for these all separate category you create an app. So Django work as a app like structure. So you will create a app for the specific task, like there is a account handling, like login, user registration, and these stuff. So you will create a specific app that will be dedicated to these all tasks. So I guess you have understood what my point is. So inside the installed app, inside your Django setting.py files, if you include any kind of a app here that you will be creating, and we will create right now, we will be creating right now. Let's first understand what make migration, or why we need understand the migration, what migration in the Django. So that's why, so we if we ever include any kind of installed apps, or we made any changes to the model.py file, right now we don't have any kind of model.py file, because it's a basically a simple Django project, doesn't include any kind of apps. So when we create an app, we will have a model.py file. But right now, why we are actually seeing some 18 unapplied migration, because we have some previously built-in component that comes with the Django, that is the admin or session content and message. These are the things that comes with the Django pre-built, and that's why it has some included some unapplied migration, because it's a simple basic project. It doesn't it's a template kind of a project. So that's why it doesn't come some kind of a database which pre-built tables or something. So you need to actually migrate these changes to the database for that, and that's the most important step in Django, that you need to actually run a command like Django make migration and migrate whenever you run your project, or whenever you made any changes, or whenever you run your server. So what I will do is, here is I will run a command called python manage.py migrate, and after the python.manage.py migrate, so what it will do is, it will transfer all the changes that are inside the model.py file, which are the built-in component. And if you want to see these component, you can go to the directory of the Django library that we are using here, and you will have these built-in component inside that, and it's importing these components from there. We don't have to actually worry about that. So I have applied my migration by using command python.manage.py migrate. But before that, if you want to make a migration files, like we have seen like unapplied migrations, you need to run a command like manage or python manage.py migration. So it will see the changes, if there are some changes inside your throughout the code of Django, and according to that, it will create a migrations. So you need to run as two commands in together always whenever you run your server. that is a python manage.py make migration, and after that you need to run a command python manage.py migrate, and you will be okay and fine. And you will see something kind of a stuff like no changes detected or no migration applied if there are no any kind of a migrations or any unapplied stuff and no changes you have done inside your projects. So let's run the server again and we'll see what built-in component is. Python.manage.py manage.py run server, and when we run the server, we are now not seeing any kind of warnings here. So let's head over to the project here, our localhost 8000, and there is some trick here that Django provide to actually log into the administration part that allow you to actually do any administrative stuff, that you will have any total access to the all things that you can do. So when you when you go to your browser and localhost 8000 and slash admin, you will be redirected to the Django administration, and you are seeing this username because I have saved this username and I was working with the previous project. That's why it's coming along with this, but it should be like something kind of blank here in your case. So, but you can't actually log in. You don't have a password here. How will you actually log in here? You don't have a password. Django even didn't ask for the password from you. That's very bad. So let's head over to CMD, and we want password and the username to actually log into that. We need to ask Django. So what we will do is Python manage.py create super user. That's what administration person is. So Python manage.py, that's the command to actually create a super user. Whenever you want to create a super user, you can. And in your empty project, you need to create a super user. Otherwise, you can't even log into the administration. So that's why. So for the first case, you need to run this command, and the other case, you can actually log into that using that username and go to your administration. So in my case, I have no username, so I will create that, and after that it will ask for the username. So I will type my usernames like mera naam, sorry, like my name, Sudhanshu 456, and the email ID. In the in case email ID, I will just write some kind of a dummy. But be careful, Django expect everything as real. If you are even trying the Django, it will ask for the correct email ID format. Even for the username case, it won't be accepting less than 6. I guess less than 6, yeah. 6, yeah, 8, I guess, I don't know. You need to figure out yourself. 6 or 8, I guess. And after that, it will ask for the password and the password confirmation. So I will write my password here. Don't see my password, please. Don't. I don't want my Django project to be hacked. You won't be able to hack my Django project because the password is in the hash format. That's the power of Django. Django comes with securities pre-built security things like hashing of password and shares and authentication, these are stuff. So now Django is saying that super user created successfully. Let's log in to the server. Before that, I forgot to actually run my server. Let's run the server. Now we have run the server python math.py run server, and let's log into the server. Okay, I have already saved that. That's why I am logged in. And now you are in the backend of your project, and where you can actually manipulate the stuff like user. You can create multiple user here, like you are seeing one user here. That's what the yeah, that was the my name and my email ID. You can include these, and if you go inside the 456 username, you can see an algorithm that is being used to actually has the password. So passwords are not actually stored in the raw format. There is no way this user password, but you can see the change password using this form. Password, you can change the form password, but you can't actually see the password. What is the password is stored inside the database because it is inside the because it's using some kind of a hashing function that will hash your password, so you can't even actually get the password out of your database, even your own password or not even someone else. So you have some permission like active, staff status, and super status. Right now I am assigned 3 status because I'm the super. In case of the person who are logging into your site will have some kind of a status like active. Active means that the username and the password is able to actually log in. If you set to the deactivate, so whatever the permission you have given doesn't mean. That means, say for example, you log into a site and it will ask for the confirmation of a link that sent to your email id. After the confirmation, your account is activated. After that, you are able to actually log into that site. That was active permission is doing here. It will be set to null in case if you are using some kind of activation link. So that's what it is. And the staff status is they can actually log in into the admin site, but they can't actually do anything, like they can't edit anything. That's the fun part. So they can actually they can see the stuff inside your backend like here, but they won't be able to actually edit or do any stuff or delete anything. So how to integrate? So please tell us about the sk.py and wsgi.py. So if you are interested about this stuff, like what sky.py and wsgi.py is, there are two different kind of servers, like asynchronous sgi and the wsgi. So in wsgi server, you your Django processes, or you can say your Django will run as asynchronously in your Whiskey server. And in case of SGI server, that is an asynchronous server. That means your request can be actually run inside the background and your Django will be work fine. So in case of a Django comes with now SGI and Whiskey both, but before that Django was only containing .whiskey.py file. So right now the most of the server we see are ASCII, not Whiskey server. So if you want to know more about what ASCII and Whiskey is, it's more of a lot advanced stuff if you are going into the deployment phase or something kind of stuff. So let's head over to the Django, and we have created our username, super username, and we are now able to actually log into the Django administration. And I think we have covered some of the stuff about Django. Let's head over to the creating a basic view for a home page. If you go to your normal website homepage, you are seeing this, but I want to change something here. I want something else here. So what I will do is I will go to the first I need to create a app. So that I will have some specific app that is dedicated to handle all the things that are for the basic home or something kind of stuff. So what I will do is I will just stop the server and I will just create a app, not a project. App is different than a project. So Django, I will run a command python manage.py start app main. python.manage.py start app main. So what it will do is it will create a app inside the src folder named as a main. So when you create an app, you need to actually include that app inside the setting.py file, and you need to go to the installed app. Inside the installed app, you need to include the app name that you have created. In my case, I have created with the name as the main, and we have included the main app inside the installed app. That's the important part. Whatever the app you have created, you need to actually include it inside the installed apps. So now we have included our main app inside the installed apps inside the setting.py of the root directory, that is your try Django. And let's go to the main folder, and now you can see the admin.py, apps.py, about.py, test.py, and views.py. All of the stuff that we have discussed before are inside here. So let's head over to the views.py, or so we have a views.py url.py file here, but for better practice, you need to actually create a separate UI.py file for the app inside that app directory. For in my case, I will create a url.py file inside the main directory, name it as a url.py file, and I will include that url.py file inside the urls.py file of the try Django. So why I'm doing this is because I will have some separation between these URL. So I will know this URL are dedicated to that part or dedicated to this. So they won't actually clash between the other URLs, or I won't have any kind of messy deployment project structure, or you can say code. So I have created all.py file. So let's include it. Before that, you need to include a library as named as a include, and write something here, and provide a inside the include function. You need to provide the url.py file that you want to actually include. So I will write your name of the app inside the main for app, and need to get the file that is named as urls.py. urls, I guess you don't need to actually specify the extension of that file, because Python knows and Django knows. That's all. And now we have actually configured our url.py file that we created inside the main folder. Let's go to the main folder and go into the url.py file. Sorry, it's empty. And sorry, I have switched my screen. Sorry. So it's empty, and we need to write something here to actually create some pattern that will be actually we will be able to actually access the things. Like if you go to the localhost.8000, there's nothing related to the home page right now. That's why we are seeing this kind of stuff. If I set the debug to false, you can see something different, and you can do it on your own if you want to explore. So I want something kind of this thing, like if I type something here, I go to something here. If I type something here, I go to something here. Some kind of a link, I guess. You know what I mean. So let's dive into the url.py file of the main folder, and for that we need to start from scratch. So what we can do is we can just copy this part, and wow, I am copying code in the live stream. Yeah, so just remove this and remove that too, and I think we don't need now that, and we can but we need some kind of a basic format that will be sufficient. And let's clear it out. So we will have a basic layout we will use to create some of our URLs. So now we have a url.py, some stuff inside it, but to create some kind of a view that will allow you to display something on the screen. That's why we have discussed about views.py file. That is the function of views.py file to display something on screen. So let's head over to the views.py file. We have discussed all of this stuff, how views.py file works, url.py file works, and how model.py file works. But right now we are just working with a very basic views, or a very basic output like a hello world or something kind of stuff. That's the basic thing that you can learn right now. And let's import the library that will be giving a HTTP response when we request the URL, or when we request our home URL. For that we need to import a library from Django.http, I guess, import HTTP response. Yeah, I need to provide here a name of function. I need to provide the request, because everything is a request in case of Django and URLs. And I need to return something. If you don't return something, that will cause some kind of error. You need to return something. You can't even you can't return some none type. So I need to return something kind of a string or something, anything. So def.index.ui, I need to return something. So in my case, I want to return something as a HTML tag, like h h1 and h2, and inside it I will write something, hello guys. That should be fine. And now we have created our basic view that will display something that is a we have written inside it, that is a hello guys. And let's go to the url.py so that we can actually configure that views to that url that we are requesting. So we need to put the url here, so you can put anything, and that will be something kind of stuff like ding 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 something, you understand. So but in my case I want to assign that view to the home view, so I won't provide anything. I will just provide an empty columns, empty semicolon, empty, what we call fruits, quotations, I guess I forgot something. Okay, so I have provided empty, and now we need to include our view from the views.py file. For that, or we need to import that view, so we will do from dot import views. We have imported our views files and view stuff. And now import the views dot function that we have created inside, that is our index function, and comma, and we specify some name, and what the name of the use of name is. You can use this name to call that URL throughout your website. So like you are on some page on a website and you call this name, or sorry, I have been, or home, so you will redirect to that URL or that page if you are anywhere on your website. So that's the best thing. So that's the basic pattern we have did for home view. What we did is we given some empty here and provided a index view that we created inside the view.py and provided a name. You don't need to actually provide a name here, you can actually remove that part, that will be fine too. So let's check the server is running or not, and let's run the server and see everything is okay, nothing is there's no error. So I have no any migration pending or any stuff. Let's head over to the localhost again and let's reload it and let's see what we are getting. And what you see here, now we are actually getting something out of the Django, and we are seeing some stuff that we are putting inside the Django. That means you are now able to configure your home page. I think you guys can actually, if you have any kind of a static web, you want to create some very static website, you can actually create inside the Django too, that will actually just return as a static, won't do anything. That is possible too. So in my case we are actually now seeing as a hello guys, and it's look pretty boring, but as of now we are now just returning as a h1 tags and hello guys inside it. And if you inspect here you can see that, if I inspect here you will see that the same thing that I have written inside that function. So you see it's pretty easy to actually work with Django, but you will have some doubt that we need to, why should do we need to actually write all our HTML code inside that HTTP response function? You don't need to actually write that all inside that. I was just showing you that how HTTP response is rendered, or how you can actually return something, or you can just do something. So to it, now I think we are moving to the part that is how template actually works. Before that, let's answer some questions. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, let me know in the chat box. And so now we are able to actually see our basic website, and as it is written here that hello guys, and I think we have completed the part that is the your first app component and demo of the app component. And you can see that was our basic first component, or you can say basic first app, and we have written something here that hello guys, and that was our creating our home, creating our that I was saying that create a customize your home view. So we able to actually customize our home view to the previous view that we actually created before. So that we were actually seeing. Let's head over to the part that is a template. To work around a template, you need to actually create a folder here inside your app. So inside the app, the from where I need to it's more of a like you can put your template anywhere on your Django project, but you need to tell the Django where to look for the template. So Django look inside the some specific directories, and it has a specific structure of directories. So according to that, we need to create a template folder inside the app, and inside the template folder we will put all our templates. So if you want to customize your template folder, you can do that. So to customize your template folder, there is a code as a templates inside the template dir, that means directory. So you will specify the directory that will Django look for the templates. And if you are asking about how we can actually configure the database, so here is the code about the database. Inside the database, this is the default database, but you can actually replace it, and you can now configure according to your need. So if you want to know about how you can configure, you can head over to the Django documentation. It's easy and very easy explanation given over there. So we were discussing about templates, so let's head over to the main folder and create another folder that will be named as a templates. And we have created a folder as a template. Inside the template folder, we will create another file as an index.html file. If you are thinking we will be working with a .html files, yeah. In case of a template, you will be working with a template, in template HTML files. That's how Django is. Yeah, Django doesn't, your template won't be in .py file, I guess. No, yeah, it shouldn't be py file. So the index.py file doesn't contain anything here, and if you are wondering how the context will be rendered here, we will explain that part too. Before that, let's put something here. So what I will do is I will change this to the HTML, I guess. Yeah, I have changed this to the HTML. Let's be S4 E4, I guess. E4 bootstrap template. Yeah, so this is the basic bootstrap template, and there's nothing inside it, just a basic template, all the libraries that bootstrap provide, and you need to actually include. So I got it by using some code snips that the libraries or the VS code that we actually extension that we installed inside the VS code. So and now we need to actually configure that template that we created, that index.html, to the view, and how we can actually do that. So let's head over to the views.py file, and now above here you can see the render function, and if I click on it for a long minute, you can see you need to include a request. So I will pass a request and the name of the template that you want to configure with, and if you want to pass something, you can pass using a context that will be a dictionary format. So I'm removing a HTTP response here, so that's very boring, it doesn't do anything, I don't want that. I want some basic structure of or you can say basic home page. So what we can do, can't we just get it from the W3C? I don't think. It's fine, we can just work with the bootstrap template. You will be actually knowing how to use your bootstrap inside the Django too. So now I will write here a render, and inside the render you need to pass the request that is requested. And if you work with the web development, you know the everything that you request or the type, whenever you type URL and hit enter, it is a get request, and it all things are on the website, on the web, is form as a request. So I need to provide the request. That's how render function works. And inside, after that, I need to provide the name of the template. So name of the template is index.html. That's why I said I need to create a template folder inside the app in which you want to use that template. That's how Django will actually able to actually find out the template. I don't need to actually configure anything to get the working with the templates. That's the best thing. And after that, there is something called as a context, and we don't need to actually worry about that right now. We will just do that. Okay, and let's save it. Let's head over to the server. Now server is actually reloading, and now you can see everything is just working fine. And server was actually working in behind background, or you can say in background. What the benefit of Django is actually reloaded whenever you made anything changes inside the code. That's the best thing, and that's actually happened with the React too. React server if you are working with the React JS. So let's reload the home page, and now we are using our template, but you are not seeing anything here because we haven't put anything inside the body here. We put nothing here, nothing. So we are seeing nothing. So let's create something, and for that I will what I can do is I can just what I can do is let's get something from the bootstrap. B4 badge button B group pink toolbar size breadcrumbs a button. Do you need a button? No, we don't need a button. We need a card list, so we will have something. Yeah, so we are now seeing a card, and let's save it and let's reload it. Oh shit, we don't need that. I think I shouldn't include that. So we need a first we need a navigation here, so I will include some navigation. So what I will do is I will just write a nav, so it will include some nav complete. So it included a basic navigation script and all of the stuff that it required for the navigation. And if you are wondering how this stuff is getting, how I'm getting this stuff, if I'm getting this stuff from extensions and the code snippets we were discussing in the first, and you can actually also get it from the bootstrap site, and these code are actually also there, so you can just copy from there. And after that, when you reload your home page, let's see, now we are actually now we can actually see some navigation here, navigation bar here, and it's just a basic navigation bar. So okay, so now we are actually seeing our navigation bar here, and we should include something here also, that so we will have something out of a b4 table or b table responsive hide page model top model list. Okay, list group, let's see. So we are having some kind of a list here, and it's just for the demo purpose, it's nothing more. So what I want to do is I want to replace this content, that should the content should come from the backend. It shouldn't be the static content. So that's what template and data, that how template rendering works. That will explain how template rendering works. To render any kind of a thing inside the template, first you need to get the data, or you need to provide the context to the render function that will pass that context to that template. So what I will do is here I will create a variable as a context, and it should be dictionary. So I will write your name, and inside that I'll write something new. just writing anything at random here, and then now you need to pass that context variable to the render function. So I will write a context. So now I think we have passed our context to the context, or otherwise you can just write it as a context and that will be okay. That should work fine. Yeah, everything is just working fine. And now head over to the index.html, and now our views.py is actually getting some context, but if you reload here, it's not actually getting anything and nothing is changed here. So that means we are passing some context, but our template is not able to actually catch that context or the thing that we are giving to the template. So you need to catch that template, and these are the template tag that is provided by Django to actually work with Django and HTML all together. And if you know about how these actually work, you need to head over to the Django documentation and learn more about these. But I'm not explaining these right now, but and I should focus on the stuff how context, where context concept work in Django. So I need to provide the name of the context that we provided here. And if you go to the views.py, the name of the context that we provided here is uname. So we need to pass the key. It's more of a, like a key. You need to pass the key and you will get the data defined to that key. So let's head over to the index and we will pass the uh, context name. In my case it's uname, and I've passed the data as a string that is something new, and I'm passing it as here. And now if I reload here, you are now seeing something here. So let's do something more inside the views.py. Let's create some list for I in range 1 to 10, and it should be included inside the list. And oh sorry, we need to don't need to do that. What I'm doing, that's too much stuff. Let's see the chat. If you guys have any, please text zoom, please zoom the screen, okay, sorry, okay, let's zoom the screen. Okay. So okay, I have changed something. Did I change something here? Okay, I'm Raj. Okay, so I think you guys can actually see my screen now, and I hope you guys can see. And this was our views.py, and inside the index.html, that was our basic HTML code. It's nothing more. It's just the basic HTML. Inside the basic HTML, if you go down below here in the list group or the basic HTML, I have included some kind of a HTML template tags. It's called a template tags, and inside the template tags I have provided the name of the context, that is a uname. And if you go to the views.py file, I have provided the context name as a uname, and you need to pass that context directly to the render function so that you can actually catch that inside the template. Now let's create a basic list, or a basic list of integers that we will actually display it in the form of a list in the front view. You can actually do that also. I will explain you how you can actually use some for loop inside the templates. So let's create a basic template. Don't judge me on that. I think I'm very bad at programming. So I'm doing correct. Yeah, I guess I'm doing correct. L dot up, and what the god name I am doing. So I think I have created some basic list, and appended all these ranges inside that list. I'm doing this in that form. I have used some list comprehension here, but I don't want to confuse you guys from list comprehension, because some of you guys have must fear list comprehension. So let's let's provide another context here as a list, and inside the list I will put that provide pass that whole list to that context name. Now if you go to the view index.html, and let's head over to the website and see if something changed or not. And okay, there is something is wrong. Okay, maybe I forgot some comma. Let's head over to the view.py file. Yeah, I have forgot using some comma, because if you are creating some new key value pair, you need to provide a comma. So now my Django should reload. Yeah, Django is reloaded. Now let's head over to the server and reload it. Everything is okay, and this was the contact that we are getting from the backend. And now we want some list here, list that should come from the backend. If you see here, I have provided a list to the context name as a list. So I want that list to be rendered in the front end. So I will go into the index.html. And do I really know HTML? Seriously, I don't think I know HTML. So I'm just copying this code so that I can just show you guys. So that UL, and inside we need to actually use a for loop here. So we will do star for I in list. That's the Django stuff. That's how Django works. If you want to use a for loop inside the template, that's how. Whatever you write inside that's block is a Django stuff. What it's doing is here is it's getting stuff from the that list that we have passed to the context, and that will be put something here. Let's put it here for data, and let's write something here more that for loop counter. I will route for loop. If I'm correct, I'm doing it wrong. Such it. I forgot something, that for loop counter Django. Okay, yeah, that's what the basic stuff. What I'm doing on your what I'm doing on the live stream. So what for loop.counter does is it will provide the number of the counter, or where my for loop is on that item that I am rendering. That's all of the stuff is from Django documentation. You can find out about more about this, how this stuff is actually happening, and these whatever you see, these curly braces, these are called as the template text. And if you are creating any for loop, you need to end that for loop. Don't forget to do that. If you are creating any kind of a stuff or conditional statement, you need to actually close that loop. So we'll end for, let's save it, and let's head over to our browser and reload again. Let's see what is happening here, and voila, now you can see some stuff that we are passing from the back end. If you go to view.py file, what I am doing is I am generating a list of a number from 1 to 10. That means 1 to 9, and I'm passing that list to the context name as the list. And if you go to index.html, from the list dot, similarly as if you work with a Python to get an item, and I'm using the same thing. So I and the basic HTML and the for loop counter is tell us where my for loop counter is. Easy, right? So let me know if you guys understood till now what I have done right now. So sorry, my server is hanging right now. So anything else? I think not. So that's it for now. And now you can actually create a template. You can render some work inside your server or inside your basic Python code, and you can just pass it using something kind of a context, and you can just render it using a basic HTML text and template how you want to represent your data. That's all. If you want to learn more about how you can work with Django, you can just go to this site that is a Mozilla MDN docs, and you can just go to the Django.project and you will be able to actually learn this stuff. That's very awesome. And documentation is very pretty awesome, and the MDN docs is a very well sufficient to actually learn anything. And today we actually covered all of the stuff that we were said that we will cover today. And that's it for today. And thank you for joining the session, I guess. So thank you for joining